Gentlemen, welcome back to the UKEL Summer Split 2020. I'm Will Vibrant William. I'm still joined by Adrian Jamal Thorne. Gotta remember which way I'm pointing. That way. Boom. Did it first time. And we're going to be watching our second game of the day. Vector just lost out to Mythos in the first game. We're going to see some new faces coming in as nerdRage will be taking on Lucendi.
Yeah, and two new orgs to the UKEL, but a lot of familiar faces on both of these rosters to the UKEL. So a little bit of contrast going on there, but yes, very excited to see at least the new orgs out on the field here, and like I said, a lot of new faces, a lot of old faces, I beg your pardon, a lot of returning players, Tyron, Dom, KZ, Buzzy, all on the same roster on the side of nerdRage, so players that we're all very familiar with have had at least a split in the UKEL, or played stints down that side of the rosters, and on the other side, of course, Gould returning to the UKEL, as well as Hyojung, who I believe may have missed last split, but might have been here for the inaugural split, but certainly had a stint too in the UKEL. So very, very seasoned players, at least in terms of comp, and very specifically to the UKEL too. So happy to see them returning, and even happier to see new organizations.
Absolutely, and of course players like Awaken and Emil Law coming in from the Danish scene were over there playing last split. Of course, Buzzy coming back in from the Baltic as well, playing in that ERL, and a lot of, as you say, familiar faces and very, very strong teams. A lot of people are putting a lot on these teams to be up there contesting the very, very top lineups. I think it's kind of an open secret that Resolve are considered maybe to be the best, but Lucendi and nerdRage definitely going to be contesting and trying to prove that they are in fact the best. And we saw an absolute clinic from Mythos last game. Can either of these two teams do the same as we jump into Champ Select?
Getting into Champion Select, indeed we are, and I wonder now if we're going to see something closer to a true 10.11/10.12 draft. Of course, a lot of Ardent supports were banned out in the last phase. Lulu, Soraka, Yumi, just to name 3 of them. And it left a lot of power picks up, and it really did show in the draft. Aphelios, Azir, plenty of others, Syndra, all making it through the draft. Graves didn't even get banned or picked, but this time out, we're at least going to see the return of the Varus ban, a very staple red side ban at the moment. I wouldn't expect Varus to go through in many games. Most often banned on the red side, occasionally banned on blue, depending on the teams, but we're actually going to see Zac banned away, final ban by nerdRage, and accompanying that ban, of course, Echo and Maud. And on the other side, another power pick in Syndra removed away, and options now for nerdRage for their first pick.
I'm going to see what they decide to prioritize. Of course, stuff like the Yumi is available, the Graves as well. Could be looking to put something safe in the hands of Tyron. Of course, returning to the UKEL, was on Absolved last split and looked pretty strong on that one. So going to be pivoting at the last second, going over to Set, which is a flexible pick. Can we play top, can we play support?
Yeah, very tricky champion Set can be drafting around, but this time around, draft-wise, it seems like we could have closer to what is starting to shape out to be the second half of the season's meta, in terms of the Karma Hover now being Retaliation and Lock In to the Set, and Karma are a very, very flexible champion in the meta right now, and Ezreal, a very, very powerful duo in the bot lane. Karma and Ezreal can be so, so oppressive. With Varus off the table, means there's no real lane answer per se into a duo like this, outside of something like a Kalista Thresh just going pure kill lane. So we'll have to see what picks nerdRage actually opt into. They did hover the Graves on the first pick, seemed like they pondered it for a while. So it could be something they decide to take up here in this B2, B3. As getting some pretty funny hovers. I'm assuming that's a placeholder, because Teemo is that champion. So wait for confirmation on what that one is. I would imagine it's probably not going to end up being Graves. I would hope that Tyron would have locked that in for himself if that was the case, but I would imagine it's something along the lines of an Aphelios or another AD carry, MF perhaps. And there you go, yeah. So confirmation comes through, it's Aphelios, and actually going to be paired with Yumi, as that's going to be the lane pairing, kind of reducing the chance, well, completely eradicating the chances of it being Set bottom lane. So it does mean that Set is most likely going to end up top or jungle. In a few cases it could end up in that role. So Aphelios Yuumi going to be the bottom side matchup, and I'm just going to answer with outright scaling here, Lucendi, and going to lock in the Ornn. And very safe champion, very guaranteed value kind of champion, especially once Yumi's there. It means Braum can't be answered in retaliation, and it's very rare that you see champions like Yasuo come out specifically just to deal with the Ornn ultimate. So a lot of value in this R3 pick, and Lucendi now with the bans. Seems like the initial target's going to be mid lane.
Yeah, Orianna taking off the table might seem a little bit weird until you look at Nice Guy Dom on the other side. Hasn't been known to play a very, very strong Orianna, so want to get that massive teamfight option off the table. Lee Sin taken away as well, and a lot of known quantities in this lobby, but a couple of very unknown quantities as well. Top, Good Roll, and Puru both making their debuts in the UKEL, and it's always interesting to see a rookie, especially as a jungler, as Puru, a young player who's coming in. We saw Jambo not having the best of first games in the bout, but we did see Cross Jungler having a very, very good one, so we'll have to be seeing where Puru sits on that kind of scale. And with Trundle being banned away, won't be seeing him on that one.
Won't be seeing him on that one. Banning away, kind of strangely, of course, as they are on red side. They could have actually taken Trundle for themselves. And the Trundle ban then means nerdRage just instantly respond with the Graves. So jungle pool pinched down to a slightly lower tier than some of the champions that are in the role currently. I'm unsure what jungle they would opt for. It seems like Hecarim, flavor of the patch pick right now, and going to be locked in most likely for Puru. I don't imagine we're going to see a flex on into the mid lane. Just intuition. And now mid lane, Dom typically he defaults to TF and Zilean at this kind of point in the draft. And with an Aphelios and Yuumi, it would kind of make sense to maybe lock in at least the Zilean, but we'll have to see if he's widen his pool over the course of the off season, as nope, doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Just going to be the Zilean response, and now it's really just on Tyron's pick, and lacking a little bit of true engage. nerdRage are. They don't really have any true go button, just the Yuumi ultimate and a set showstopper, I think it's called, the ultimate, of course. So at least would kind of lean into a more okay.
That's not an engaged champion,
Yeah,
particularly, but a good strong scaling option in the jungle.
yeah, a very strong scaling option in the jungle. I feel like it should end up being fine, but a very peculiar position to pick Karthus in, I feel. But looking down the line of Lucendi, it's not exactly like they have, well, I was about to say, it's not exactly like they have a whole bunch of early pressure, but the LeBlanc is the complete opposite of that. They are going to be taking that one, Emil, so looking to put some pressure down onto Dom in the mid lane. And Dom's going to definitely, he's going to feel that in lane. LeBlanc and Hecarim going to be breathing down his neck a lot in the mid 2v2. So we saw the draft right there. Karthus, it feels a little bit out of place, in my opinion. So we're going to have to see how it operates. Like we said, there's not necessarily a whole bunch of agency coming out of the Lucendi lineup, the draft, until realistically level 6. Through the Hecarim ultimate and the Ornn ultimate too. So Karthus should actually be free to kind of just farm up for a while. But it feels a bit strange, considering that Lucendi's draft don't necessarily even come in to nerdRages, right? So Karthus isn't going to operate like that. He is truly just going to be a power farm and press R champion in this game. And there was already a lot of magic damage there and available between the Zilean and the Yuumi. So certainly a pick I'm going to be a little bit critical of. We'll have to see how it operates in game. Of course, Karthus can just take over entire games, so can't count it out entirely.
It's one of those champions where you can just kill the enemy team from across the map with one button.
Yes.
And that can never really be underestimated if you do get that champion with enough gold, enough farm on him. And We are back to Chapter Select. If you're just joining us, then this is going to be just a quick pick because we have already gone through picks and bans, but there was a proxy pick because Tyrant does not own all the champions. I've always been such an advocate of buy all the champions if you want to play in tournaments. On the one hand, yeah. On the other hand, yeah.
Just own all the champions. Come on now. You're a big boy. You should have all the champions.
Yeah. Where are you? You've got the blue essence. Come on.
If anything, if we can be a little bit generous, of course. Felios is a slightly new champion, but it's been a long enough time. We're in June. It's very generous. We're in June. Felios came out in the preseason. I think so.
We could just gift Tyrant the champions. I'm like, I'm not out here with RP to Pern. I've got my own shop to be buying skins from. But it's always sad to me you can't gift champions with blue essence, because then I could be with teams and players who just I don't have the thing for this. I don't have the blue essence for this. Here you go.
Here you go. Yeah.
Now you can pick it for me, and we don't have to satin casters with proxy picks in second lobbies. I was in the close qualifiers. I was a player. Can't remember who it was, and I wouldn't name his shame anyway. Who was proxy picking? They were the jungler for a team. They were proxy picking, but in the same rotation, they picked jungle every time. So they were picking Teemo as a proxy or Annie as a proxy, and then the person below them was proxy picking the jungler. And I was just like, you can just pick the jungler or the jungler, and then yes, you then may have to proxy pick the marksman or the support, whatever you're picking, with the mid laner. So you're still gonna have to jump out and in, but it doesn't actually make a difference. And it was just, I was so confused in large portions of the casts. I'm just confused anyway. To be honest, Champ Select is not the play-by-play's finest hour. But now that we've got everyone in order and we can see exactly what's been picked up and just confirmation that this is where everyone's going to be played, not that I think there was any real question on the topic. Which one of these drafts do you prefer?
I would probably lean into Lucendi's a little more. Both of these teams going primarily down the scaling route. nerdRage, Karthus, Zillion, Felios, and Yumi all very much catered towards the late game stages of the game. Whereas Lucendi, they've kind of done the same thing, but they've actually given themselves a few options inside of, Ornn kind of becomes an engage threat as soon as he hits level 6. LeBlanc is always going to have some form of agency unless she gets absolutely throttled in terms of gold income. And the same thing falls upon Hecarim, right? Hecarim's always going to be some kind of engage option. So very much have the ability to go in and very much have the ability to kind of just leave fights with the Karma and with all of the mobility that LeBlanc also has to offer. So very much in favor of the Lucendi draft here, as I feel like they've just got more options available to them whilst having scaling that can be considered sort of on the same tier as the nerdRage draft have.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I think it is quite a nice, well-rounded composition that they've gone for. Very interested to see the Hecarim, because it's not a champion we traditionally have seen all that much in the past. Well, certainly not in the last split of the UKEL, of course, because it's a new split. We've had several patches going forward, so a lot of the champions in the meta has shifted quite a lot. But saw it last game in the hands of Jambo. Wasn't the most successful pickup, but that was probably more in terms of game state rather than in terms of the champion.
Yeah, that seemed very much like a game state issue. I think trying to operate at an 8,000 gold deficit might not be the best circumstances to show off what a champion's potentially made of.
Probably not.
Hecarim, a champion I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more over the course of the next few patches. Of course, got a buff on top of the Predator and Ghost changes, so a lot of hype around this champion right now. And I wouldn't expect it to go anywhere too soon unless it just continues to underperform, not just obviously here, but across multiple regions. And teams kind of just come to the consensus of this champion just isn't really worth taking anymore. But with the Ghost changes, with the overall Hecarim buff, and even Predator too, Predator is something that we shouldn't necessarily underestimate as a potential option to also stack on top of the Ghost, to give him more early pressure. But Conqueror still, I would imagine, kind of edges out on the Keystone side of things. So, yeah.
Do you know what I'm upset about?
Hit me.
Okay. A part of me thought that Zillion and Hecarim were on the same team. And can you imagine how fast that horse would have been?
That is a fantastic point, and now I am very upset too.
It saddens me because he can speed up the car first, but
what if could we just redo the drafts and can we just swap Hecarim and Karthus?
Like not even champions, the junglers swap sides.
Like, could you imagine Hecarim with a Zilean and a Yuumi?
It would just be so good. I think the funniest thing I've ever seen in League of Legends is I know a player who's not very good at the game, like not at all, but plays ARAMs, and in custom ARAMs he will pick Nunu, and will force someone else to pick Zilean, and will build movement speed on Nunu, and he will build AP and movement speed, and will sit behind the second tower, and will just we'll just snowball, and then the Zilean speeds him up, and this is like Mach 5 speed Nunu will just smack into you with AP, just blow you up. And it's terrible. It doesn't win. Like occasionally, there'll be a monster that just gets one shot, and it's honestly one of the funniest things. You put some bombs on there from the Zilean as well. It's just a good time all around. So next time you're in an ARAM tournament, make sure to check that one out. But we are now going to be loading in and towards our second game of the day. We've had our first game of the day. It was Vector versus Mythos.
I know it. It was a little bit. It wasn't so memorable being such a fast game, but it is our game too, Will. I know
it is our game too. It's our last game of the night as well, sadly, because we will be going off after this one. But there will still be plenty more UKEL action. But we've got plenty of time to talk about that one. Let's look at these two teams. So on the blue side, on the blue side we do have nerdRage. Good role in the top lane, Tyrant in the jungle, nice guy Dom mid lane with KZ and Buzzy returning, reunited once again at marksman and support. And on the red side we do have Lucendi making their debut with Awaken in the top lane, Puru in the jungle, Emil in the mid lane with Gould, and Hyo-Young down bot.
Yeah, and two very strong rosters on paper, and should certainly match up toe-to-toe pretty well. I don't necessarily expect this game to be as stompy as game one was, so I imagine we could potentially be in for some kind of slugfest. Well, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
From the get-go, unless we see some true fiesta go down, I think that we are in for a potential barn burner.
I'm excited for it. I had my chocolate bar in the break, so give myself some energy. So I'm good. I'm like a pro athlete. Got to get that sugar and those calories in to speed you up. And we're jumping into it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got this game between Lucendi on the red side and nerdRage on the blue side. One of these teams will be taking the victory here, taking their first win ever in the UKEL. Of course, they are both new rosters, as you can see on your screens. One of them will be starting off their history with a loss. So we haven't noted, and we should probably shout out Dr. Casts, famous UKEL and other caster, has been coaching Lucendi. And he's probably rubbing his hands together because you were so complimentary of his draft.
It was a good draft. What can I say? Doctor has definitely given, in my opinion, what is the stronger of the two drafts here on this Rift. And like I said, options kind of from the get-go. They can play through to the Blanc, or they can kind of just wait for the Ornn and the Hecarim to come online so that Hecarim can kind of just impact the map a lot harder than he can without his ultimate. And if they feel like they need to play towards the Ornn, which, I mean, it's an Ornn, so always happy to kind of leave it to its own devices and let him scale up, eventually give the gold value in items to the rest of his team. So options galore, and they don't necessarily get outscaled by the enemy team comp either, I feel. So very, very strong draft.
We'll have to see if they can perform to their strong draft on the Rift, as we do get minions clashing into each other and Emil putting down some early pressure onto the Zilean. Going to want to make sure that he can assert himself early, because this LeBlanc is potentially going to be a fulcrum of the early stages of this game.
Yeah, certainly so. And in a game like this, the LeBlanc can have a lot of value just because of the innate lack of any kind of tanks on the side of nerdRage. So all it really takes is one kind of, one full combo, and yes, Yuumi is there to kind of heal a champion back up, but cooldowns will be cooldowns. And with the amount of poke value that Ezreal and Karma can provide on top of it, in any kind of siege scenario, it can become a very oppressive free champion. And if they see an opportunity to just go off the poke that they find, I mean, what better go buttons than an Ornorm or a Hecarimar to pull up poke damage. But kicking off this game, seems like junglers gonna be pretty static in their clears, very much just going for full clear variants. In Puru's case, actually opted to ignore the Krug camp, gonna leave that one up, whereas Tyron cleared his top 3 camps, likely gonna clear every camp, though has actually left out his Raptors, I believe, feeling that Emil got a ward down, so he didn't want to show himself just yet.
I think it's a ward down, I'd say. Proving correct, doesn't want to give away too much information until the last possible moment, or might even wait out that ward, but in the bot lane we do see Guild and Hyorian pushing in, and Emil goes forward, gets the chain down, and will be taking a bomb back with him as he distorts away, but again, just placing that early pressure down. Both of these mid laners do have teleport, which is quite an interesting decision. What's the logic behind the teleport on LeBlanc, do you think?
It's just to potentially match side lane skirmishes, I'd imagine. Beg your pardon, voice cracks will be no longer present, I promise, but you know, just wanting to match a side lane play perhaps, or just match Dom on the map. Dom, whenever he was on the Zillion, was very self-sacrificing too in the previous split. If he ever had the opportunity to teleport away from lane, he would do it. So perhaps just looking to match up there, and realistically Ignite is it's gonna be difficult to outright assassinate targets when you're versus the Zillion and Yuumi, but laying down poke with your actual damage is gonna be pretty much fine. So doesn't really necessarily feel like he needs the kill threat that Ignite could provide. As
Nice flash from nice guy Dom to avoid that gank. Puru not gonna be able to find anything but the summoner there, which you're not gonna be too sad about. Decent first gank for your UKEL career, does manage to burn that resource, and Tyron is around. Emil does have to be a little bit careful, won't get stunned up unless he decides to distort backwards, and that's a very, very smart play from nice guy Dom. Does survive, and now Tyron looking for the damage. Emil does get smited down,
Okay.
and first goes over to the Carthus. Puru in the neighborhood, not able to respond though, and not traditionally an early game ganking jungler, but he got the job done.
yeah, and it's a very hard game for a Carthus to really find ganks in too, if you look down the lanes that Lucendi do have. So it just had to be some kind of miscommunication there between Pura and Emil, because it was very apparent where the Carthus was. He got spotted out trying to take away the Raptors, so it's not like Emil was short on information there to actually take that trade. So willingly going in to actually find some more damage onto Dom, and Tyron just there to actually punish. Dom had bombs down on the distort location too, so had he gone back, he would have just ended up stunned up. But I feel with a passive, had he gone back, he probably would have ended up surviving. But first blood going to be onto Carthus, and definitely not the champion on the nerdRage draft that you want to have gold on if you are Lucendi. Trade's going to be very negative in this lane for Dom.
Yeah, jump forward, LeBlanc's going to be doing way more damage than the Zillion will be at this stage in the game, and going to be able to dodge out quite a lot of that as well. I really did love the placement of the bomb on the distortion pad, so that jumping back would have got the stun. I think that's really, that's why Nice Guy Dom is one of the top mid laners in this league, at least on paper, and at least initially. But moving down to that bot side, KZ and Buzzy still just sitting back, happy to farm away. Gould going to be doing the same. A lot of pressure being created by Lucendi in the bot side, but nothing's really come of it just yet.
Yeah, like I said, I think we're going to be in for a long one. There's not really a lot of agency out of these champions in the early stages of the game. However, we do see Puru managing to pick up the early Mountain Dragon, and that's a pretty big deal. You'd imagine that this Lucendi roster, this draft, does actually kind of beat out the scaling of nerdRage for a very long period of time, and then once the scaling aspects of nerdRage's draft do come in as stun goes wide, it's not like the Lucendi champions are going to be worthless or a little less effective than their counterparts. So denying away the early dragon, any kind of potential dragon, is a big deal, and if they can actually put a little more focus on stacking up these dragons, that could be a pretty big pressure sink for nerdRage to have to worry about for now. But not going to see a swap on the Lucendi side of things. Very happy to keep the lane matchups, and for a moment it did seem like nerdRage, having lost out on the original objective, were going to actually swap out lanes and try and play for the Herald, but it seems like they're just going to stay in their regular lane matchups.
Peru moving up towards the top side, clearing out a little bit of vision, was maybe looking to get something going top, but decides on just recalling instead. Top lane has been pretty quiet, which isn't super unsurprising, but you've got to remember that this Ornn pickup will be giving a lot of value to this Lucendi lineup going later, because of course, we always say it's a bit of a cast a bingo card thing you can pick up here. About 6,000 gold coming from those items once everyone's got their upgrades.
Yeah, and very powerful upgrades too. It's gonna be trade. But it's gonna be 2 Triforce users. Most likely Peru will end up picking up Diam, and LeBlanc will have a death cap, most likely eventually. So very powerful items to actually be upgrading on the scale, and most likely a redemption or a locket, something along those lines to be upgraded for Hero Jung eventually, as Tyron sticking in the wings has found himself an XP lead on Peru, and it seems like a gank's gonna happen though.
Moving forward, gets the slow onto Karma, but it's not really gonna come to anything, and that's the difficulty with ganking on Karmas. Don't even pick up the red wall in the bush, so it was spotted out before then, and yeah, it's gonna be kind of the thing. You can try and get these ganks off, and does force Karma back, but in the mid lane, Peru wants to make something a little bit more effective happen. We're gonna see nice guy Dom using his ultimate to survive, but Mirror is hanging around. Ultimate was used a little bit early from Peru, but it's not going to matter. Zillion does fall. It's going to be Peru picking up the kill, and the topside Awaken needs to be a little careful, but should be able to get out of that one.
Yeah, and I was wondering when Peru was going to make a return gank towards Dom, and he does it just in the nick of time. You can see his flash time is about to ding in right about now. So making sure he got that return gank off before the flash was available, because with flash there and ultimate and barrier from the spellbook, it does become a little bit problematic as another return gank.
Oh, through final chapter doesn't land though, and a lot of flashes burnt to avoid another set of kills going down in the bot lane.
Yeah, and this time Buzzy did have the final chapter, lost chapter, I believe it's called actually, available to him to try and lock down the Lucendi bot lane, and it costs 2 flashes out of the Lucendi bot lane, so a lot of strong pressure going down there, and we said a lot of these champions are going to require level 6 to actually have any kind of agency in terms of setup, and we saw it right there. Tyron making what is another return to the bottom side, but it seems like KZ and Buzzy, no, they're staying up for it, so they want this gank, but Lucendi and Co are going to be privy to this information. A very deep lane ward there, so this could turn into an all-out skirmish if we see TPs come down.
TPs are available as well. I want to run it back real quick though. Lost Chapter's the Iron King.
Okay.
Lost Chapter. I was thinking you were like Lost Chapter, and I was like, what is Yumi's migration like? What's this going into? But yeah, you can see teleports are available for people. Everyone's got, well, Emil does not have his, so he won't be able to get involved, but everyone else will be able to, and you can see through on that bot side, maybe looking towards mid again, but here comes Tyron with the slow once again, but once again, it's not really, you're not really being that successful in the gank. You do manage to force people away, but is this a good use of Karthus' time right now?
No. No, he had a whole rotation of jungle to take. It wasn't necessarily the best time. When you're Karthus, you don't like having downtime like that. If you're sitting in a bush like that, it has to be because you have no camps to take. And Peru is waiting on the blast code. I think there's a blast code there. Doesn't seem like it, but wrapping around instead.
Going in, just force KZ to step backwards, getting damage. You see teleport coming in behind. All of it from Kit School will not be enough, and now Top good roll coming in with the dunk damage comes out of School, will be the first victim of this fight, and now Set's going to be traded 1-for-1 moving forward. Final chapter coming through. Emil will get stung up, bomb already running on him as he explodes. Double kill coming in for Tyron. Awakened Peru and Xiaoying having to become backwards. Tyron moving forward with the flash, not able to get anything after the slow though. Decent fight coming through, but overall, it's going to be nerdRage the happier of the two teams.
Yeah, nerdRage definitely the happier of the two teams. They could potentially even have the in here onto the second dragon, the Ocean Dragon. And I have to ask questions of Lucendi right there. They had inside knowledge on where Tyron was going to be. They knew that TPs could be matched. And yes, Emil was roaming down, so it's not exactly like it was going to be a numbers disadvantage, but when you're Lucendi, don't you perhaps just kind of feel like, hey, we know where Tyron is, he's been bot for such a long time, I have to hold the point?
Walks away.
Everyone walks away from each other. I feel like if you're Lucendi, you maybe had the time to even try and trade a Rift Herald to punish Tyron's missed time usage there. But instead, they try and go for the outright 5v5 bottom side. It doesn't end up working and they give up the second dragon. So now it means the potential of a very early Dragon Soul is prevented, and nerdRage are going to have a lot more time to play the game, as that was a good flash.
Very strong play coming in from top good roll, able to secure himself a nice easy kill onto Karma. Gould forced away in the 2v1 as well, must be said, so very well played from the set to secure that one, and you can now see that nerdRage's bot lane is up on that top side, going to be going into Awaken, setting themselves up for Rift Herald. Interestingly, like Lucendi have not matched that one just yet.
Yeah, very, very curious. They're obviously aware now that nerdRage have swapped around for the Herald here, as Chain's going to connect onto Creeps, unfortunately.
Creep got ruined though, so...
Yeah, Creep died, so...
The Creep did die, so it's a successful play from the nonetheless.
Yeah, who won really?
But not the Creep.
Not the Creep, clearly. So... does seem like gonna have some kind of soft response by Lucendi. They are gonna send up Hyo Jong to sort of soft match this potential Herald play, leaving Gold on the bottom side to secure solo gold. The plates are about to time out, so unfortunately that won't be an option for him, as poking his head over the wall Emil is, and Herald's gonna be slide up.
Herald started up by nerdRage. They've got members up there. The nice lane swap will be able to secure that one for free. No contest coming in through from Lucendi, which kudos to them. They saw that. They knew that was going on. Well, like, we're not going to be able to contest this in the current state of the game. Let's just leave it. And Tyron moving up towards top lane. Could look to drop it. Could look to hold on to it. And going to be sieging onto the tower either way. Gould putting his ultimate down just to thin out the way because he's getting his own push bot. But with that Rift Herald coming down, this is going to be a race for the first tower. And that big purple guy is going to be able to secure it for nerdRage.
Yep. Shelly gonna secure that one, and it seems like, yeah, for some reason I thought Hecarim was on the blue team. It's gonna be traded. I want it so bad. I want the Hecarim to be sped up, man. But actually gonna be a 2-tower trade. nerdRage finding the better end of the macro play here, so a little more gold in the pockets, but this tower isn't necessarily a big deal. It's not like it's 2 towers in the middle lane. It's just the tier 2 top lane tower, so not a particularly important tower, but gold nonetheless. Extra gold nonetheless in the pockets of exactly who you want it to be in if you are nerdRage. And yeah, Lucendi, they don't even necessarily trade anything big back for the second tower either. They're kind of just stricken to having to only take the bottom lane tower, so nerdRage very happy with it. But now, lane assignments can be swapped back around. Unsure exactly where these teams will want to have everybody, but I would imagine that Lucendi eventually want this on the side lane to be a nuisance. As... Hello.
He'll be involved. Just say hello.
He's just saying hello.
Friendly, Emil. Known to be quite a friendly guy. Does want to just pop in and say hello occasionally, but as you can see, Awaken has gravitated towards that top side. Top good roll will be joining him, so looks like pretty standard lane assignments, although KZ is moving mid to go against Emil, with Nice Go Dom holding the bot lane against 2. But Zilean has pretty decent wave clear, so should be feeling pretty confident in being able to just hold off that inner tower as well. The outer tower's already gone, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. So very confident with these lane assignments. They are. The dragon is spawning very, very soon. A little under 60 seconds here, so you can imagine teams will start to prep for that. But as we get into this one, I do want to kind of highlight some items, as
okay.
Brewer's gonna secure the better half of his jungle camp. Tyron not able to sneak away anything there, but the Lucendi champion's not quite there yet. Not quite there on their spikes. Emil doesn't quite have the double pen. As for Hecarim and Ezreal, not quite at their Triforce spikes yet either. So if you are Lucendi, you're actually kind of happy potentially letting this dragon go in favor of... Ooh, nice little chunk damage there, but I'm going to be healed up by Yuumi at least. But you're kind of happy giving this dragon over in reality, but doesn't seem like they want to give any more stats in the terms of the dragon over to nerdRage. So brute forcing with 5 members on the Cloud Dragon there, and I'd imagine we see some kind of breakout fight, Will.
Emil is moving forward, trying to play bounce, so because he's be careful. Dragon's already gone very, very low. Should be secured. Final chapter comes out. Will be secured. Puru's going to get the smite down, but now the fight is breaking out. Tyron, if he goes down, will get right back up. Puru's pretty low in the backline. Doesn't manage to get a kill before he dies. Only victim of that fight was Puru on the Hecarim, as everyone else gets out of dodge.
Yeah, and this is why I was saying they don't necessarily have to commit to a fight right here. Their champions aren't truly online just yet. By the time the next dragon spawns, you'd imagine that Manamune is stacked up, the Ezreal has a Triforce, the Hecarim has a Triforce, and LeBlanc has a little more bang for a buck from the Pen Items, but they're the ones that step into the river first. They try and brute force the dragon and they lose out for it. They even might end up paying for it in terms of a tier 1 mid tower, and it seems like they will do off this wave, and positive trades only for nerdRage off this play.
I'm going to make a controversial statement here.
Alright, hit me.
Ezreal's going to build Iceborne Gauntlet rather than Triforce.
I think that would be a terrible idea.
Okay, why is that a terrible idea?
He doesn't need the gauntlet for anything. He's not kiting out anyone besides the set, and he should be able to kite out the set just fine with the Karma Shields. He wants DPS out of Triforce here.
Okay, there you go. I'm just looking at that cloth armor in his inventory.
I mean, he can go tabbies if he really wants. It wouldn't really do much. He would just be luring damage out of Felios onto him, but realistically, Felios shouldn't be able to hit Ezreal for large portions of any kind of fight. And as for Set, I mean, same thing kind of applies, right? Set shouldn't ever be in range to... Alright, well...
Look at God. Who's the color cloth now?
Alright, take it away, Will. Take
No, you see the Iceborne Gauntlet is being picked up. Emil dashing away after missing that chain, but... I mean, talking about how the champions on nerdRage don't really have hard engage, is this maybe an item to kind of play to that weakness? Because yes, you're going to have Set rushing forward, maybe sped up. You're going to have Felios rushing forward with the Yuumi on him, maybe, or the final chapter running on someone. And the Carpenter's also not really going to be the kind jumping in, he's just been like floating at you. Is the big area effect slow potentially going to be useful?
It's hard for me to realistically say yes. I mean, right now, of course, the current build is obviously taking Death Stance third, which the armor stack between the Death Stance and the Iceborne Gauntlet is what
cut you off. Kaiser takes a decent amount of damage, but Puru's going to be the first call. Emil has to move away, does get popped into 2, but will be able to distort to freedom. And what was an aggressive play from Lucendi backfires, and they lose their jungler.
Yeah, so as I was saying, Puru manages to die there. There's just a little bit too much damage return. Will, they're on Baron.
Baron started up 20 on this one. KZ and Tyron going to be looking for that one, but members of Lucendi are aware and force them to back off, because while they could have probably done that Baron, it wouldn't have been particularly safe with members of Lucendi sniffing around.
Yeah, they don't have true perfect setup. I mean, with Puru down, I wouldn't even really consider it a flip by any means. Perhaps just afraid to drop to some kind of... Ooh. Okay. Dom's there, so Dom had art to...
It's alright.
To save top. Worst case scenario, but yeah, very strange that they wouldn't actually opt into to finishing up that Baron. I feel... Emil is really trying to be a nuisance here. Almost stole away the red buff, brought it down to 35 HP, I think. But yeah, very curious to not actually just outright commit to that Baron, in my opinion. Had Dom's ultimate up and available too, but taking the safer route of the two. But going back to Gould's item build, yeah, I don't think he needs Gould. I don't think he needs the Gauntlet here. I think he's fine without it. But choice of build is his, so that is what he will be piloting. But it just doesn't make as much sense. I'm not gonna brood over it much longer. As Cloud Dragon, fourth dragon of the game, second Cloud of the game, up, and you see nerdRage trying to sort of poke their head into the river, secure some preliminary vision. But right now, this is almost the spike. In fact, I'd say it's just about there. They're just about ready for Lucendi art to actually take a fight, but they're still missing some key items, realistically. But they're going for it anyway, Will.
Ultimate has been landed by Awaken. Nice guy Dom and KZ looking to move forward. Gonna see Ornn dashing away, and resources have been used to hop a good roll moving forward. Wow. Won't be able to get anything off though, and all that's really done is secured Dragon priority for nerdRage.
Yeah. So seems like nerdRage at least gonna secure this Dragon, not allow Lucendi to get to Dragon Soul Point, but I mean, they trade it for mid-tier 1. Unsure about the true value of that trade. I think Lucendi would probably be happier of the two realistically. Just because Cloud Soul doesn't really have insane value. I mean, they do have Hecarim, so Hecarim, one of the few true enjoyers as... Oh!
Neil goes very low. Ultimate will land onto him as well, burning down with the Requiem. Not even going to be injured as he's already gone down. KZ now moving forward towards that tower, Gordon on the backside, but the tower will collapse. Yo-Yo not able to defend that one on his own. Gordon on the behind, looking maybe for a collapse on the Ezreal, but not a traditional flanking champion.
Flanking Ezreal. He's looking for the assassination will. He'll find it.
Jumps in, gets that massive slow from the Iceborne Gauntlet, and then it gets instantly deleted by the set. But
hey, you know what? Maybe he can't find an assassination because he doesn't have a Triforce. That's
maybe he's personally insulted you with this build, which I love. I love when color casters get personally invested in the game. That's what we love to see here at the UKEL. And in this game, 24 minutes on the clock. Good lead coming through from nerdRage in their debut game in the UKEL. Lucendi also having their debut as well. But this has been a much closer game than the first one we saw between Mythos and Vector. Both of these teams definitely not been perfect, but I would say that the level of play in this game, I've been quite impressed.
Yeah, I would agree. And as we're entering what I'd imagine is going to be a very quiet period of time now, as Low Dragon is up, and it seems like both teams a little bit hesitant to start up a Baron. We are now in the ornament phase of the game. Triforce upgraded. What is the upgraded Triforce called? What's it called? Don't hover it, because I know what it is.
Oh, it's still Trinity, but it's not Force. It's Trinity. Oh, I don't know. You have to tell me. You have to put me on misery.
It's Trinity Fusion. There
you go. Fusion. Okay. Well, I'm as a good marksman / tank player, I know it. I know some of the item names, so you know, not any that will be built this game, I imagine, but top controlled. Moving forward onto Emil, who's going to be able to just quickly move away, contesting around this Baron area. Baron buff is back up on the map. Never left actually. We'll call it comeback. Awaken moving forward, going to be looking for the ultimate. Going to land a double knockup, but there's no follow-up, so just going to be wasted as nice guy Dom looking for bombs, can't find them. I'm going to pause back off.
Yeah, and I'm starting to notice a bit of a potential problem pattern here for Lucendi, and it's that the comp of nerdRage is so good at just walking back that you can see it each time that Lucendi try and find an engage. It's very difficult for them to actually find true follow-up and commitment to any kind of true 5v5. I mean, I'll say Dom's playing Fire, but when he's playing Zillion, it's never really the case. You're seeing Lucendi are struggling to actually find fights and commit to these fights, so it's actually allowing them to scale up as comfortably as could be, really. I mean, Tyron's on his way to... Oh, okay!
The 4 towers and no number of slows are going to save you there. KZ is on a rampage picking up that one, and that might have just unlocked the Baron buff, moving over for nerdRage.
Alright, now Will, hear me out.
Okay.
If Gould had...
No, don't give me that if he had tried, he'd have survived. No, I'm not having that from you, because he was instantly deleted. Nice guy Dom actually in trouble of doing the same half health moves forward with Yumi on him though. Looking to get a stun down, won't be able to do so. Karma in full retreat, but Awaken coming through, can't get a stun down. Will be taking the final chapter to the face, will be stunned up. A lot of season coming down, but he's a massive Forge God right now, able to stand up so much damage. But way well full. That's going to be the kill. Going over to KZ once again. Another successful fight coming in from nerdRage. And once again, they'll turn their attention to Baron.
Yep, should turn their attention to Baron. And comically, it takes so long to kill Awaken that Gould's death timer actually runs out. So, looking for a potential trap. little bit too much mobility on the side of Lucendi's comp to necessarily warrant a trap working. Not enough CC, but the Baron's going to be slide up again, and Lucendi are going to find out now because of the True Shot barrage, but Will, they're not, they don't care.
I'm not interested. It looks like they might be trying to set up and securing the Dragon instead, but with the Baron already going down and the Dragon not up for another couple of seconds, it will be a pretty risky take. I think they will be able to secure it because of the reset coming through from nerdRage, but not a great trade.
I am left scratching my head a little. I mean, at best, I feel you have to try and just, you know, dissuade or just go for a flip 50-50 at worst. I mean, it's not like Puru's down levels on Tyrion right here, so kind of just giving over the Baron for free, Lucendi are. Trading it for the Cloud, it puts them on Soul Point, but it isn't like this is an Infernal Soul or an Ocean Soul, it's just a Cloud Soul, so even if Lucendi end up picking the Cloud Soul up in 5 minutes time or so, I don't think it really warrants the potential damage that nerdRage could end up doing to the base with a Baron. As, like we said, we've seen the pattern of how these fights go, right? Lucendi try and find the pick. Okay, well,
Eel might be the one who's picked off and nowhere to run so much CC there, and mid lane tower's going to be the target, looking to press forward and crack open the base at the 28-minute mark. It's about time that nerdRage do so.
Well, I was talking about potential damage. It's no longer potential, it's just outright damage. And Gold Lead has magically ballooned to 8k from what I feel like before the Baron was only really about 3.5, 4,000 gold, and now picked up 3 towers. An inhibitor could realistically look to make this double inhibs on this Baron push. It's not unrealistic for them to actually end up taking this inhib on this Baron right here, and well, wouldn't be a UKEL game.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be one. It wouldn't be one of our pause. So that is what we're gonna have on our screens. But it feels so hard right now for Lucendi to actually find reasonable fights, and it seems like they kind of it's a weird scenario where their windows were kind of early game, sort of prior to that around 15-ish minute mark, something along those lines, right? Be proactive with the Hecarim ult, be proactive with the Ornn ultimate, try and play through your LeBlanc. And they bullied Dom down a bit, but they didn't necessarily stop him from being a champion, right? And LeBlanc hasn't really felt any love since the early game, and you can see she's 0-4 right now. She got picked off. She's only at 2 items. She's less effective than the Zillion right now. And Lucendi just can't find full-on committals to any 5v5 fights simply because there's too much disengage on the side of nerdRage. And I was very critical of the Karthus pick initially, but had I known that the fights were going to have to be played out in this nature, I would have just outright said, maybe if Lucendi can't actually find the avenues to play through mid lane, then yes, sure, the nerdRage comp will eventually work, and it's just worked from a much earlier point in time, since what feels like before Baron was even on the table, and starting to worry now for Lucendi. Of course, I don't feel like they're necessarily out of the game, despite the very gargantuan gold lead. We have to remember that Ornn obviously does offer inflated gold values to his team's items, so realistically, once he starts handing out the items, even though we're at like an 8k, it will start to look and feel closer to maybe something like a 3k, or eventually once we get to a certain point, if we do sort of reach the true late game, the 35 minutes onwards, gold leads start to just matter less, and it starts turning into execution. But definitely worrying for Lucendi right here if they can't manage to keep another inhibitor alive off this Baron.
Well, we are looking to get back into this one pretty soon. It was a blue side connectivity issue, which looks like it may have been resolved now, so hopefully we'll be getting back onto the rest shortly. But Lucendi gonna have to be back to the wall in defense, at least while this Baron buff is rolling. Of course, Dragon will be available in 3.5 minutes. That could be Soul coming in from Lucendi. Would that be a good turning point for them in terms of having that Soul, or does that unlock a win condition with Elder Dragon, perhaps?
it potentially unlocks an Elder Dragon condition where they could force a scenario where, you know, a Baron and Elder Dragon trade has to take place. But they would have to be the ones taking Elder Dragon as just the stronger of the two buffs. And we don't know whether or not that's actually going to be able to happen with the current trajectory of this game, as Inhib Tower just falls. They take the Nexus like a next tower like that. Well, I'm just gonna stop talking. Engage.
Who is going to engage to save your bluff? Is nice, not by from the set, getting damage down, but might well go down. Has the Zilly not all rolling, so it won't matter if he does Requiem. Will only manage to pick up one. It's onto Gould. KZ marauding forward, looking for more, looking for Awaken, looking for Emil. Emil's clone gets the brunt of the damage, but Emil manages to slip away, killing him as well. Loon's Echo Proc won't be able to steal the kill, but with two waves crashing in towards the Nexus towers, you've got to imagine that Lucendi, they're in a very bad spot.
Very bad spot, and I'm quite surprised that nerdRage don't just outright attempt to end the game here. They still have the final chapter available to them. They know that Lucendi don't have ultimates available to try and actually get on top of their carries, so playing it very, very safe, very cautious in not going for this third inhibitor. So I'm just gonna take the reset and give Lucendi a little bit of breathing room, but I don't feel like this soul, this potential Cloud Soul is gonna be an avenue to actually win a game. So it's very hard for me to see now a stage like this, many universes where Lucendi actually come out with a win on this one, if nerdRage aren't just making unforced errors.
Okay, Jamal, I've got a question for you.
Of course, go ahead.
What's the upgraded Iceborne Golem called?
It's
called.
Oh, you know this one?
I know this one.
it's something like Frost Fist, something like that. It's pretty close.
Fist?
All right. Well,
I thought you were a color caster. People these days, Doctor goes to be coaching, I get stuck in it.
Oh, well, look, man. All right, I'm trying.
It's a good one, but has now got another upgrade, so a little bit more money coming in onto the Ezreal with that Death Dance as well. But already in such a rough position, looking at these item spikes that champions are getting, it's difficult because it's like, yes, now he's in a good spot with this build, but the team as a whole is not.
Yeah, and I mean, you just look over to the counterpart in KZ and didn't actually go for IE third item, opted into a PD just to secure his life, to be even more obnoxious. And I feel like at times builds like these can actually be more oppressive than just outright going for damage. Having a Yuumi sit on top of you with heal and exhaust whilst you yourself have barrier and a Zillion, PD just supplements staying alive so much more, and already has the goal to just outright pick up the IE. So yes, okay, Gould now has his death stance, but you look at Aphelios and you just think, well, how much does Aphelios really care? How much does the rest of nerdRage really care about this pickup? And now it seems like nerdRage really kind of just taking their foot off the gas here, right? They slowed down the pace of the game now that they don't have Baron available to them. They just opted to completely choke any opportunity out of Lucendi here to actually pick up the Cloud Soul. So now no potential opportunity to, or well, no strong opportunity to have an Elder Dragon actually spawn on this rift, as if current trends continue, we could be seeing a Nexus blow up very soon, and I don't think it's going to be nerdRages.
It would be a big turnaround in fortunes if it was nerdRages that ended up erupting, and 20 seconds on Baron, you can see nerdRage moving into it. But Javali, you know I'm going to ask you, what's Loon's Echo's upgraded for?
You're really testing me now, aren't we? I know it has Ludens in it, but
That's excellent, it does.
okay, well, I'll be, oh my, wow!
Ooh, that's a lot of damage coming in from LeBlanc, absolutely executing onto the Carpus. And remember, this is a jungle with Baron coming up, but the other jungler might well be in trouble, going to be forced back away. Gould looking to get the damage down, won't be stunned up by the bombs, but needs to be careful. Emil moving forward, looking for another assassination. Won't be able to find it, but just like that, good roll, might have been knocked up, might have been caught out, looking for the huge shield, just get the duck down, and will be doing a lot of damage to every member, but he's gonna fall, and everyone from
the base!
But the base teleport's coming through to try and defend. You can see Zillion there, you can see Aphelios there. They're just gonna be going for the inhibitor, because they're not gonna be able to take down any Nexus towers. But goodness me, they've also started up the Baron. Look at this. You've still got Yo-Yo looking for this objective, but they need to be careful. Members are collapsing and they decide to get out of dodge. Not going to be able to kill that one, but that was a mess.
That's a mess, but they can't base. If they leave, then nerdRage could just potentially start up the Baron themselves. Oh!
Gould gets stopped, but KZ going backwards. He should be able to get away from this one. Smoke coming down, Requiem flash. You can't flash the Carthus ult as Gould goes down. Puru now having to make full escape as well. So many members go low, and you could just see nerdRage looking to move forward, clearing out vision at Baron, and could start this one up themselves.
Yeah, I would imagine that after all of these shenanigans, we are finally gonna have the Baron taken down, and what a strange series of events that last segment of the game just was. As
Neil's hanging around. We might not be done with the strange.
Okay.
Oh, look at the damage will be taken out by KZ, and Baron will be secured by Tyron. Now it's on all 5 members of nerdRage. They're going to look to get through to that mid lane. No inhibitor up there. They do have the super minions open inhib bot as well if they so desire. But looking like they're just going to split in the 4-1 with Zillion up top and look to push forward to end this game.
Yeah, you'd imagine now, the way the game is, that we will be seeing the end of the game on this Baron. Lucendi have just kind of, unfortunately, had their comp fall flat on their face, and I don't even necessarily think that the draft is bad. It's just that nerdRage's draft kind of just interacts far better than anticipated with Lucendi's, and KZ is dealing so much damage to those creeps. If he is able to actually auto-attack a champion, they are just going to lose their health, but last-ditch effort will
re-engage. Puru's been exhausted, looking for it. No Nexus towers, and he will fall. Awaken going to be forced down as well, as he's going to be able to actually dash away to survive. But minions already on the Nexus tower. They're going to be able to pick up a couple more kills before the Nexus erupts. But that's going to be a first win for nerdRage.
First win for nerdRage, and certainly no one-sided stomp like game 1 was today, but certainly felt like it towards the end of the game. And like I said, going into this game, the drafts were very heavy on the scaling side of things, right? You know, you have Yuumi, you have Aphelios, you have all of these kind of champions, both sides really, that don't really want to interact with each other for 20, 25 minutes. And we kind of saw that happen. And once Lucendi kind of recognized that they wanted to try and go forward and actually try and step on the toes of nerdRage to take objectives, to try and find picks, to find good setup around these kind of areas, they never could. There was too much disengage. The Yuumi provided too much. The Carthus damage was ramping up nicely into the mid game. Zillion R, there's just too many tools going backwards that it just completely nullified Lucendi's engages in any form. So they couldn't find engages, and even though 1-to-1, I certainly feel like if the gold is closer to equal, that yes, they scale fine. The comps just interact in that nature, and Lucendi don't really get to play the game how they want to play the game, and nerdRage just kind of get to walk around the map, place vision where they want to place it, and if they get engaged on, Yuumi presses their R key, and they can't actually find their way onto any of the carries because, hey, even if they find lethal damage, Zillion ult's there. So it's not even necessarily a draft difference or anything like that. The comps just interacted in that nature, and nerdRage take advantage of it and they take the win.
nerdRage grabbing that one up. MVP?
Oh, MVP. That's a difficult one. I would maybe actually give it to... Man, I don't like giving Yuumi players credit. It could actually be Yuumi. could be Buzzy. I'm just gonna default to KZ, just because he realistically he's the carry of this comp, right? He has the Yuumi there to facilitate him. He has the Zillion there to facilitate him. So I'm just gonna default this one to KZ. I don't necessarily feel like anyone played better than anyone in this game. It was really just Lucendi struggling to get onto nerdRage, and nerdRage as a collective did their job.
And they did enough to grab themselves the win. Commiserations to Lucendi coming back next week. Still looking for that first win. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere, because when the UKEL returns, a couple of Newcastle, some familiar faces, Darksil and the Sarge, will be taking you through the last 2 games of the day, starting off with London United as they take on Revenge, 2 new faces. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.